Test-retest reliability is one of the most commonly discussed forms of reliability. It is among the easiest to understand. The idea is this: if I use a measure once and claim that it measures some latent variable or construct at that time, then if I use it again in the future, it should still measure that same construct, and I should see similar results on that measure. Imagine I was measuring something like intelligence. Presumably, if I measure your intelligence once, then I measure it again, I should at least get similar results. You wouldn't expect to see scores that vacillated between Einstein and Gump levels. Indeed, test-retest reliability is often the first thing that comes to mind when people think of reliability. But there are many reasons that many variables would fluctuate over time. Consider this: if you stepped on a scale at noon and then again at 2, would you expect that scale to give you the same result both times? Not if you ate lunch. Or if you went to the loo, I guess. Other variables are likely to change over time simply because that's what those variables do. Have you ever noticed that your work or study motivation fluctuates? Any measure of work or study motivation could hypothetically change over time, leading to a decline in test-retest reliability. Before using test-retest reliability as a basis for reliability, ask yourself, is this a variable that should, theoretically, change over time? If so, what good is test-retest reliability? It may still have some value, but think critically about how much. Also, it turns out, people are fairly biased towards answering questions the way that they answered them in the past. If I ask you a question like, how much do you want to eat pasta on a scale of 1 to 9? You might answer 7 because you want pasta, but you aren't dying for it. If I come back and ask you again, you might think about how much you want pasta in an absolute sense, but then you might also think about how much you wanted it before, that's 7. Then you think, well, I want it less than I used to, and I said 7 before, so I'll say something a little lower this time. Then you say 5. On a scale of 1 to 9, 5 should mean that you could kind of take it or leave it, but this internal dialogue suggests that what you're really saying is that you want it a little less than 7. Those aren't the same thing. This is a subtle effect, but if all participants in a sample experience these, what we call carryover effects, then the reliability of the measure would appear to be high when, on that second administration, what we're actually measuring is the participant's original pasta desire with a little current pasta desire sprinkled in. The way we deal with carryover effects is to make it harder for the participant to remember what their original answer was. I might bury my pasta questionnaire in the middle of a bunch of other questionnaires so that the participant might not remember providing an answer to that pasta question. I might also delay the time to re-administration of the pasta questionnaire to ensure that it's just a little harder for the participant to recall their original answer. Students often think of test-retest reliability as the quintessential form of reliability, but there are many situations in which we should distrust or ignore it. It is sometimes imperative to establish, it's sometimes completely irrelevant. For each measure, we need to think about how test-retest reliability relates to the latent variable we're intending to measure.